There's an entire generation of individuals who remember both rotary phones and the first iPhone launch, and psychologists can't quite figure out where to position them. If you were born between 1976 and 1985, you're on the tail end of Gen X, yet you're hardly a millennial, even though everyone keeps attempting to shove you into one of those boxes. You're what researchers initiated labeling a Xennial around 2014. And some sociologists have even labeled this group a microgeneration because the window is so specific. What occurred during that specific slice of history created something that's genuinely worth examining. So today, we're going to explore what makes them interesting from a psychological perspective. From the initiation, you spent your childhood in an analog world where boredom was just something you sat with, where you had to actually remember phone numbers. And not to mention the dread if you missed your favorite television program, it was just gone. Yet one day, correct as you were moving into adulthood, the entire world went digital, not gradually, suddenly. The timing of this shift possessed consequences that are still playing out. Most generations grow up entirely in one technology paradigm or another. Xennials, however, went through both of these life-defining experiences during the years when you were still discovering yourself. Your late teens appeared very different to your 20s, and the disparity in age was far wider than most generations experience. Consider the implications of this on your daily existence. Remember how much of your teens were spent passing physical notes in class, or possessing conversations that disappeared into thin air, or making plans where you weren't able to text running late or where are you? You just demonstrated up and hoped your friends would be there. That required a completely different category of trust and commitment than what exists now. Yet then, you were in your 20s and observed everyone get cell phones. You registered with Friendster, next MySpace, then Facebook. Prior to social media, most individuals only possessed 3 different manners to contact someone, either their home or work phone, or just by demonstrating up at their residence. Then suddenly, you possess 17 different messaging apps, and you simply figured it out. During your formative years, you experienced both worlds. According to research on brain development, the prefrontal cortex, the region that mediates our ability to adapt to new situations and learn complex skills, is still maturing until roughly the age of 25. A study published in Nature Neuroscience found that this region matures well into the 20s. This means that Xennials were still in this high plasticity window when the technological landscape went through a complete overhaul. You were young enough that picking up new technology experienced natural, yet old enough to remember what came just before it. Due to being adults when technology first appeared, Gen Xers can sometimes be a bit skeptical of technology. Millennials, particularly the younger ones, possess no genuine memory of existence without the internet. If you're a Xennial, though, you've experienced both things, which has created a category of bilingualism that is pretty rare. You can possess a face-to-face conversation without checking your phone every 30 seconds, yet you also don't get anxious about learning new software. You remember what it experienced like to be genuinely unreachable for hours at a time, which is an experience a lot of younger individuals simply don't possess. Yet you're also not intimidated by technology, the manner some older generations are. And this demonstrates up in manners you might not even notice, like you probably possess a different relationship with privacy than other generations. You grew up in a world where your embarrassing moments just faded into memory instead of inhabiting forever on social media. That 7th grade haircut, that breakup, that drunk night at a party, there's no photo evidence. It just exists in the stories individuals tell. This creates a fundamentally different relationship with your past. Your memories could evolve, could become stories, could transform shape over time, the manner human memory naturally functions. You weren't trapped by documentation. Research on autobiographical memory suggests that the manner we store and recall personal experiences is actually quite fluid. Our brains are designed to edit memories, keep what matters, and let the rest fade. When everything is permanently documented and searchable, that natural process gets complicated in manners we're still attempting to understand. Yet here's where things get messy. You also entered the job market correct around the 2008 financial crisis, which means a lot of you experienced significant economic instability during the exact years when you were supposed to be establishing your careers. That timing matters more than individuals recognize. Research on economic hardship demonstrates that financial trauma during this life stage can possess lasting psychological effects. Individuals who experience job loss or financial instability during this life stage often carry those experiences forward even after their situations improve. It shapes how you contemplate about money, security, and risk in manners that don't easily go away. So you've got this generation that learned to adapt to massive technological transformation, yet also got economically burned correct when you were attempting to build stability. You can navigate transformation because you had to, yet you might also possess this underlying current of what if it all falls apart again running through your decision-making. And nobody genuinely discusses this combination. The cultural conversation about generations tends to pit Gen X against millennials, as if everyone born after 1965 and before 2000 is basically the same. Yet the specific years you were born in, especially during periods of rapid transformation, create distinct experiences that don't fit into those broad categories. Xennials deal with a paradox that's honestly pretty unusual. You possess the self-reliance and skepticism of Gen X because you grew up before helicopter parenting became standard. Your parents probably didn't comprehend where you were for hours at a time, and that was just normal. You learned to resolve challenges on your own, to entertain yourself, to deal with boredom and frustration without immediate adult intervention. However, you also reached adulthood during the early days of the internet when technology was still thought to connect everyone and resolve everything, before we all recognized that, it might be actually making some things more complicated. It is peculiar to find yourself there, independent and cooperative, doubtful yet optimistic, digital yet analog. What appears to define Xennials is this ability to hold contradictions without it experiencing peculiar. You remember the before and the after, which means you're able to observe what was gained and what was lost. Perhaps you're not as nostalgic for the past in the same manner Gen X might be, since you genuinely appreciate modern conveniences too. However, unlike many of the younger generations, you still recognize what we gave up. You lost the ability to be truly alone with your thoughts without effort. You lost the patience that originates from waiting. You lost a certain category of presence that existed when there wasn't always something else competing for your attention. Yet you gained connection, information, and possibilities your younger self couldn't have imagined. If you're a Xennial, you probably experience like you don't quite fit in anywhere. Too young for some things and too old for others, caught between two worlds. It's not a fault. That's actually the defining feature of your generation's experience. In a world that keeps transforming faster than anyone can predict, possessing inhabited through one massive transition might be one of the most valuable things you could have learned. You've adapted to a transitional lifestyle. The environment in which you were raised doesn't necessarily possess to be the one in which you inhabit forever. The Xennial experience is worth comprehending about because of that more than anything. Not because you're special in some superior manner, yet because you inhabited through a specific moment in history that taught you something the rest of us are still attempting to figure out. How to adapt without losing yourself in the process. If this resonated with you, I genuinely appreciate you subscribing. And if you want to assist me, keep making content like this, consider becoming a channel member. Your support genuinely means a lot. I've got some other videos queued up that I contemplate you'll connect with. Different topics, yet the same category of depth. I'll observe you in the subsequent one.